Hi, my name is Jess. I'm on Instagram as @DickensandDocs, and this is my very first booktube video. I'm so excited to announce that I get to be one of the 10 special co-hosts for this year's 10th anniversary of Victober. Victober is like one of my very favorite things in the entire world. It's this delightful month of October where you read Victorian literature as much or as little as you like. For me, if you're crazy, you read only Victorian literature and you just make a whole stack and you just immerse yourself in it. I love it. But you don't have to do that. You can read just a little bit, even one thing, that's totally fine. However you choose to participate, we hope you'll join us. So we have 10 hosts and 10 different challenges, and I'm going to share them with you real quick. And I'll also have links to all of the proper booktube accounts in my section below. So first is Kate's challenge, which is to read a Victorian work where friendship is featured. Katie's challenge is to read a work of Victorian literature that is not a novel. So like a play, short story, poem, or work of nonfiction, something like that. Marissa's challenge is to read a work of Victorian literature where a character experiences a change in social status, like rags to riches, fallen woman, something like that. Ross's challenge is empire spotting. See how many times you can spot signs of the empire in your Victober reading. Elizabeth's challenge is to read a work by an underrated Victorian woman writer, meaning like not the ones I really love are like Brontes and Gaskell, George Eliot, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Christina Rossetti. Like those are all fantastic, but we want you to try to dig a little deeper and find someone you haven't read before who might be a female author. And then we have Hannah's challenge, which is to read a Victorian work that discusses education. Melena's challenge is to spin a digital color wheel, this is really fun, and pick a Victorian work with a cover that primarily features that color. You can pick any edition, whatever works with the color that you've chosen. It's totally fine. Then we have Roy's challenge, and his is to read a Victorian work of fantasy. Then Catherine's challenge is to read a Victorian work that has a connection to Jane Austen, which is very special because this year happens to be Jane Austen's 250th birthday. So kind of cool. And then my challenge is to step back in time and read a Victorian work set in a different era. Okay, now if you do not have to complete all 10 of these, if this has you overwhelmed thinking there's no way I'm not going to read 10 big fat books, that's okay, because a lot of these will be connected in other ways. You can do more than one prompt for a book, if that makes sense. And I'll be sharing some of the other challenges that my books will cover. So you can kill two birds with one stone, or 3 or 4, whatever you want to do. However, here's the scale of how much you complete. If you complete 1 to 3 challenges, then you are at Mr. Macabre level. If you complete 4 to 7, you are at Jane Eyre level. If you complete 7 to 9, you are Sherlock Holmes level. And if you complete all 10 challenges, then you are Dracula level, because you have to be an immortal magical being to be able to complete all of them. Kudos to you if you can do that. Here are the books that I have chosen. I've read the first few of these, so I'll share with you which ones I've read and then a few others I haven't but want to. The first one is maybe the obvious choice. This is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. And this is the story of a doctor and his young daughter. He was 18 years in the Bastille prison in Paris, and this is leading up to the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror. So he's released from prison and he goes with his daughter to London. There's a whole lot of back and forth between Paris and London in this book. It is a beautiful story. It isn't my very favorite Dickens, but it is wonderful. It can also cover Kate's category of friendship and Marissa's of change in social status. Then we have Barnaby Rudge, and this is a book titled Barnaby Rudge, A Tale of the Riots of '80, because it's about the Gordon riots of 1780, where there was widespread anti-Catholic violence and chaos that terrorized London. The main character of this story, Barnaby, has an intellectual disability. It's very fascinating. It's been suggested that it's either autism or Williams syndrome, and it would fall under Kate's category of friendship, and it's an excellent book. Those two are his only historical novels. Then we have The Trumpet Major by Thomas Hardy. And this was his only historical novel, and it was set in Weymouth during the Napoleonic Wars. It's about a heroine who is pursued by 3 suitors, one of whom is a trumpet major, hence the title. And it ranks for me number 2 on the Hardy tragedy scale, with number 1 being Under the Greenwood Tree, number 10 being Jude the Obscure. It's not very bad, so if you're scared of tragedy, you'll be okay with this one. It's not the worst. There are also Signs of Empire for Ross's challenge that would work there as well. Then we have Adam Bede by George Eliot, and this is a much smaller scale pastoral community in 1799. There's a love rectangle involving a vain and beautiful girl and a carpenter, a squire, and a female lay preacher. It's a very interesting one, and it would fall under Kate's category of friendship, Hannah's about education, Marissa's change in social status, and then of course mine. Then we have one that I am in the middle of right now, and it's called Windsor Castle by William Harrison Ainsworth. I just want you to see this really cool 100-year-old edition that I'm reading. I absolutely love it. Okay, so this is set in 1500s, in the time of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, and they are two of the main characters in the story. And there are a whole bunch of other different characters. I honestly don't know how many are actual people, but I think a lot of them are. And then there are some others that aren't. One of the cool real life characters is the jester Will Somers, who is in a lot of paintings with Henry VIII. And then there's also a little bit of a ghost story, like a specter that appears at night. And I'm interested to see where that goes. But yeah, I'm really liking that one a lot. And it would fall under Kate's about friendship, Marissa's change in social status, because there's a lot of that going on with all the political intrigue. Then we have one of my very favorite books of all time. And this is Lorna Doone by R.D. Blackmore. I love this book so much. I will probably do a video about just this someday because it is so beautiful. So this is set in the late 1600s in Exmoor. And the backdrop is the Monmouth Rebellion and the reign of Charles II. And it has one of the best male main characters ever. He maybe even rivals Gabriel Oak in Far From the Madding Crowd if you love him. His name is John Ridd, and he is the narrator. It's told through his voice, and it is a beautiful love story. I love it so much. But a lot happens. It's not just that. There's adventure and like the royal court and all kinds of fun things. So it would fall under Kate's for friendship as well. Also Marissa's change in social status. Very good one. It's beautiful. It'll make you want to go visit Exmoor. Okay, then we have one that I haven't read yet. The rest of these I have not read, but I want to. And this is called The Chaplet of Pearls by Charlotte Mary Young. Kate introduced me to Charlotte Mary Young and got me completely hooked on her beautiful writing. She's wonderful. She writes very much like people are talking actual dialogue with each other and not just like a high-minded prose kind of thing. It's very, very, it takes a minute to get into, and then it becomes very intuitive kind of writing about just like how people would speak. And this one is, of course, a historical novel, and it's set in France between 1559 and 1594. Is the period of struggle between Roman Catholics and the Protestants following the Reformation. Now, a word about her is J.B. Priestley said this of her Heir of Redcliffe that I haven't read yet, but Joe March has. You probably knew that if you've heard of Charlotte Mary Young before. Anyway, he said that The Heir of Redcliffe was the most popular novel of the whole age. Its popularity left Dickens and Thackeray far behind. Yeah, I want to read that one, but it hasn't happened yet. So, Chaplet of Pearls would fall under Kate's category for friendship, Elizabeth's of an underrated woman author, and Marissa's of a change in social status. Then we have one that I've been meaning to read for like 5 Victobers, and it hasn't happened yet. I don't know if it will this time either because it's a busy year. I don't have time to work all the way through this, but it's Romola by George Eliot. It's set in 1490s in Florence during the Italian Renaissance and includes notable figures in Florentine history, and it would fall under Hannah's for education and Marissa's for change in social status. Then we have The Cloister and the Hearth by Charles Reade. I'm very interested in this one. And this one is set in the 1400s, and it's based on Erasmus's father, Erasmus the philosopher, and many other things. It follows a scribe and illuminator on his travels through Europe. And the main theme is struggle between man's obligations to family and church. This book was admired by Arthur Conan Doyle, Rudyard Kipling, Oscar Wilde, and George Orwell, and many others. So it could be a real good one. Hannah's education prompt would work for this, as well as Marissa's change in social status. Then we have a book called Sylvia's Lovers by Elizabeth Gaskell. And this one takes place in 1790s in a coastal town during early French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. And Gaskell herself said that it's the saddest story I ever wrote, but it's Gaskell, so it's gonna be good. It will be worth it. It would fall under probably just my category, and I'm guessing probably the friendship one I haven't read yet, of course. Then we have Lois the Witch by Elizabeth Gaskell as well. And I have it in this Tales of Mystery and Macabre. And Lois the Witch is an interesting one because it starts in 1691 in England, and then the main character moves to Salem, or to Massachusetts, and is involved in the Salem witch trials. It's a novella, so it could fall under Katie's category of not a novel, and then Marissa's change in social status as well. Then we have The History of Henry Esmond by William Makepeace Thackeray. This takes place in the early 1700s during the English Restoration and the War of the Spanish Succession. And it would fall under Kate's category of friendship and Marissa's of change in social status. And its sequel is The Virginians, also by Thackeray, and it takes place in the mid-1700s. And it follows the descendants of Henry Esmond through moving to America and being involved in the American War of Independence. So either one of those could work for those categories, friendship and change in social status, and also sound very fascinating. Then there's a book that I really am interested in, but I have not read. So please comment below if you've read any of these, and especially if you've read this one. And it is called Westward Ho! With an exclamation mark by Charles Kingsley. It's set in North Devonshire in the Elizabethan era and involves some swashbuckling adventures. And as far as I know, it's the only book with an exclamation mark to have a town named after it. There's an actual town in England, in Devonshire, called Westward Ho! And there is a Westward Ho! Tell. Westward Hotel. Very clever. Okay, so this would fall into the category of Kate's for friendship and Ross's signs of empire. Then if you are not up for reading a big chunky book, that's okay. There are lots of other options for you. There's short stories. One that came to mind was The Poor Clare by Elizabeth Gaskell. It's also in this wonderful Tales of Mystery and the Macabre. And The Poor Clare is set in 1747. It's not exactly historical fiction, it just happens to be a little bit earlier era. It involves a family curse and is very interesting. I like that one a lot. It's not super long, not as long as Lois the Witch, and it could fall into Marissa's change in social status. Then we also have poetry. I'm just going to list a few different poems that I could find that fall into this category. If you know others, please comment below. Idylls of the King or Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Either one of those would work. Idylls of the King is a whole collection of poems about King Arthur and his knights, Guinevere. You could pick one of those or all of them or whatever you wanted to do. And then Ulysses is about the Greek hero Odysseus and his adventures. And I don't know if that's like one giant poem or a few. I didn't actually look that one up yet. Then we have, if you like the King Arthur kind of era, but I like the style a little bit better because I peeked at this one. This is William Morris's The Defense of Guinevere and Other Poems. And that one looked a little bit more accessible to me. And then we also have a poem called Sohrab and Rostam by Matthew Arnold. I'm probably slaughtering that pronunciation, I apologize. It tells the tragic story of a Persian hero and his estranged father. Then we have The Lost Leader by Robert Browning, which is a short poem it's supposed to be about Wordsworth. And the other is about a Renaissance duchess, and it's called My Last Duchess. Either of those would work. And then we also have a play by none other than Oscar Wilde called The Duchess of Padua. And it's set in 1500s Italy and deals with betrayal, revenge, and the complexities of love and loyalty. So that can totally fall under the friendship category and probably others as well. There will also be a Discord discussion group that will be discussing our big group read, which is going to be Hester by Margaret Oliphant. And I love that book so much. It's really good. Margaret Oliphant is one of my favorite women writers. She'd be a great one to read, not necessarily for my challenges because I couldn't find anything that was set in a previous era, but she is fantastic. I hope that you find something that you like that works for this prompt, and let me know what you're going to read in the comments below. I'd be very interested to know. Happy Victobering!